I'm sorry. Good afternoon. Today is September 23rd, 2009. It is 3:10 p.m. This is a regular board meeting of the Brownsville Navigation District. I hereby call this meeting to order. Mr. Chavez, would you lead us in a prayer?
Our Heavenly Father, we praise and hallow your name today. And we thank you for the rain that has been coming down on our city. We know that we've needed it for a long time, and may it be a symbol to us of the pouring of the Spirit, of your Holy Spirit on each one of us. We also ask for your presence here this afternoon, that your Holy Spirit can guide us, and can guide this meeting, and continue to guide this port to make the best decisions possible for not only the port, but the entire area. We put ourselves in your hands in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, do we have any public audience comments? None. Let's move on to item number...
Number five?
Six?
Five.
Or five?
Five and six.
All right, let's start with item number 5.
Okay. Item number 5, receive submission of ad valorem property tax calculations for the 2009 assessment.
And this is our first step in adopting our tax rate. These calculations are run to determine what our effective and rollback taxes are. And they're limiting factors for the tax rate that we're going to adopt later on this afternoon, or today's item. We would just ask that you acknowledge that you've received these calculations.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion by Commissioner Lopez, seconded by Commissioner Cowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Item number 6, consideration and action to set the ad valorem tax rate for the Brownsville Navigation District at .048253 per $100 valuation. This rate is comprised of a debt portion of .0389 per $100 valuation and a maintenance and operation portion of .009353 per $100 valuation. This rate is projected to produce an increase in tax revenues of $36,730 and is less than the rollback rate of .04890 per $100 valuation and is less than the effective tax rate of .04860 per $100 valuation. This is a rate reduction of .000244 point per $100 valuation, or 0.5%.
Yes, sir. I want to thank the commission for agreeing to meet early. This is going to help us get our tax bills out and usually mail by October 1st, and Sherman County appreciates it as well. We are proposing a rate of .048253. The way that we get to that rate is it's the same M&O rate that we had last year, combined with the rate of .038900, which is the rate that we need to collect our debt taxes. It does create a little bit more revenue, as we said in the item. However, it is considered to be a rate decrease. The taxes on people that were taxed last year are going down. The only increases that we get are from new tax values. So we are recommending this rate to the board.
Okay, so it's a tax decrease.
It is a
Yes.
tax rate.
We are continuing our trend,
17 years in a row.
increasing our taxes. Okay,
Yes.
just want to make sure that folks out there know that that's important, that we do that and we continue to do that.
I'd like to congratulate the staff for working so hard on getting things reduced down to where they can organize things in such a way that we can have these tax disputes.
17 years in counting.
Very good.
So moved,
Very
Mr.
good.
Chairman.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Arambula, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
I'm going to ask you, Margie, has got one copy of the resolution. If you could sign it for me, we'll give that right over to the county.
We'll probably go ahead and do what we did last year, run an ad, just to let everybody know. But there's one, I think we talked about this last time, and it's really in item 5 in the supporting calculations that Debbie provided. We used to have to do a report as a water district showing the impact on housing values and the average home price and what have you. Debbie continues to do that because it's good information. If you look at that, I think we'll make reference to the fact that if you look at what your tax was in 1997 versus what it is today, it's virtually the same value. I think the only thing will happen, obviously, is the average home values have increased during that time, but it's less than $40 on the average homeowner in the district that would pay in taxes, which is comparable to what they were paying in 1996.
Very
It
good.
was very good. Thank you, Ms. Duda.
Okay, item number,
Yes.
okay,
Go
item
ahead.
number 3, receive court director's report. Item A, receive monthly operations summary report.
Campirano?
We will, for the last 2 meetings, we've not done the monthly operations report, so it's time to do a little bit of catch-up. One is that I think everybody has gotten their financial report. I think it was on your desk. If you're looking at it, it's this report here. A couple of things to point out is just if you look at revenues year-to-date versus last year and even versus what we had budgeted, it is behind, but when you look at expenses year-to-date versus where we should be according to budget or where we were last year at this time, we've been holding the line where we can, and you can see that we're actually doing better in terms of net operating income because of that. Where last year at this time we were a little under $2 million. This year actual is a little over $2.7 million. So from a cash position, we continue to do fine. If you look at the following page where you have your cargo stats, you can see that cargo numbers are down as expected. We've commented that it's going to be hard to duplicate last year's numbers, but you can see where we're essentially making the biggest headway, and that's going to be under petroleum, waterborne petroleum products. And if you compare current year-to-date to last year-to-date, we're actually ahead of the game. And so we will see the bulk product come back. We've already got notification that we've got about six vessels, slab vessels, on the books between the end of the month and into October. So we're starting to see that pick up, but it's still not going to give us the numbers that we had last year. Vessel counts, again, if you look at vessel counts, total vessel counts, it is not what we had. The biggest impact has been on the barges. If you look at the deep sea tankers, though, again, you see where that increase is. Last year at this time we had about 55, and year-to-date this year we've got about 64. So good information in here. Have an opportunity to look at it. One of the things we're going to try to do is block these off to where you can see the difference between waterborne cargo in terms of total revenue and also bulk cargo in terms of total revenue. So it just takes a little work to pull these numbers out here, but we'll try to present them to you in such a way where you can just see what is waterborne and then what is bulk. If there are no questions on the financial operating report, we do have the summary, we do have the operations report. And
I have a question.
yes, sir.
I would, or a request, what I'd like to do in the future, I would like to, in including our report on the cargo, the ships that come in, and each ship that come in, what the total fees are on each ship, so we start getting an idea, we can get a better feel for what's producing the revenue. And you know, it's just unit cost accounting, but this way we know we get so many ships, so the average ship is bringing us this, then we get a feel for, as commissioners, what's going on.
What you'll see, I think, is that, you know, obviously every vessel, and depending on cargo,
well, I
it's
realize they're different.
really different, but you'll see that, you know, which are the vessels that have the greatest potential for the port and which ones don't. You know, we don't make a lot of money off barges, for example. And on the container vessel, you know, we purposely try to
Yes,
be very, very competitive just to grow that business. But and then you can see what the impact is on a vessel that a large ocean-going vessel with a lot of cargo, substantial revenue to the port.
Right, and that's why this way we have as a commission, helping trying to set policy on where we're going, if we know what area we want to target, makes it easier for us to do our job.
I will tell you that this year, what we've seen, because we've quite candidly, I think, trying to tighten up, and that is our storage revenues are up substantially over prior year, because we're sticking to our guns on holding folks to the incentives that have been granted. So.
Oh, doing a great job. I have no complaints about anything. I just a little bit more information will make it easier for us. That's it. Thank you.
Ariel, you going to start, or are we gonna let Joe go first?
You're gonna show some slides, I believe, you're gonna show some slides.
You had asked Commissioner Reed at a couple of meetings ago about a little report on the fishing harbor and how we were doing out there on dock repairs or whatever.
Okay.
So we've rolled that into this presentation. So Mr. Garza will start first on the fishing harbor.
Go down.
Yeah.
Is this part of your report, the director's report?
This is part of the overall report.
This-
And I'll start,
Popcorn.
I'll start with
No, I'm just gonna sit over
a
here.
brief summary and a report on the roof repairs at Turning Basin Sheds.
Yeah, pull that chair over a little bit.
And you all have, this report in your packet, but I'm gonna go ahead and read off of it, so.
We discovered that with rain, you can really find where the sheds leak. Repairing them in 100-degree weather with no precipitation, you think you get the spots, but when it rains, guess what? We find them.
For the benefit of the audience who doesn't have this report, I'll go ahead and read from it. On the roof repairs, on the storage sheds, during the recent rains, it became apparent that there were some leaks in the Turning Basin sheds. Some of the stevedores reported leaks at shed 7, 8, and 12. At the time that the leaks were reported, a crew was immediately sent out to the problem areas and covered any product that was getting wet from the roof leaks. Also, sandbags were placed at the bottom of all of the doors that were not being used by the stevedores to minimize the product from getting wet. All this was done on a first response to the situation. The next step taken was to mark the location of the roof leaks and call our roofing contractors to perform the needed repairs to the roof. We contracted with a local roofer and repairs were made to the areas needed. Unfortunately, well, I don't know if it's unfortunately, but a few days later it rained again, and this time a lot more. This caused more leaks to appear, and some of the leaks that had been previously repaired show signs of leaking. The contractor was notified of the new leaks and also the leaks that had been reworked. The contractor sent his crew to take care of both problems, and hopefully they have been resolved by now. Yesterday it rained, and I have not heard of roof leaks from the stevedores, although it did not rain as much as the last time. So we'll keep looking at them, getting the contractors out here to take care of them. Although the roofs on, just for your information, the roofs on shed number 7 and 8, those are still the old built-up type of roof, and maybe this fiscal year we'll put in the budget to replace them with a modified material. Because those are the only roofs, shed 7 and 8 are the only sheds that have still the built-up roof with the gravel. The next report is on the fishing harbor, excuse me, on the fishing harbor repairs. It's an update on what we have been doing. First, I'm going to go back to before September the 3rd, 2008. All the repairs at the fishing harbor docks were done and scheduled on an as-needed basis. When one of the fishing harbor lessees called and reported a damage to the dock, an incident report was completed, and from this information, it was determined if the damage was due to normal wear and tear, or if it was caused by impact, either by the lessee or by an unknown party. Most of the time, the lessee claimed that the damage was either normal wear and tear or caused by an unknown party, and therefore the responsibility for repairing the damage fell to the district. And as you can see, most of the damages are, there's some decking and some damages to the substructure, but most of them were done to the tops of the pilings, and I will report on that. As a matter of information, it's important to note that the damage that was being reported had to do with the top of the wood pilings being broken off. since determining who was responsible for the cost of these damage became an issue between the new fishing harbor lessees and the port, a different approach to this issue was recommended. On September the 3rd of 2008, a presentation was made to the board on the fishing harbor docks pertaining to the life of the docks and the responsibility of the district and of the lessees to extend the life of the docks. It was agreed that we would ask the lessees to participate in helping us to make a self-assessment of their docks so that there would, so that we could proceed with a plan as to how much money it would take to make those repairs. The self-assessment plan was put together on September the 19th of 2008. This form was mailed to all of our 41 lessees with dock space for their input. The district asked them to return the assessment forms by no later than October the 9th of 2008. By October the 10th of 2008, 22 self-assessment forms out of the 41 forms that had been mailed out had been received by the district. The forms came showing a varying degree and types of dock damage. Shortly after receiving the self-assessment forms, a plan was set in motion to begin repairs to the docks, starting at the end of Dry Dock Court, which is at the west basin, and working around the basins until reaching the end of Gator Court on the east basin. Docks that were damaged on lease sites that the lessee had not turned in their self-assessment form or that were not current on their lease would be placed on hold until the ones that had complied were repaired. Now, as we all know, it's a lot easier to put a plan on paper and to talk about a plan than it is to carry one out. There are times that the lessee that is next in line for dock repairs has a vessel or equipment on the dock that prevented us from performing those repairs. At other times, the gates to the lease are closed for a period of time, or they open them up after a certain hour. That by then the crew has moved on to another site. Once the crew has moved on to another site, they continue with these repairs until completed. So it may not be unusual for the lease that was next in line for dock repairs to be moved back several weeks or even months. To date, we have completed dock repairs to 12 of the 21 lessees that had turned in their self-assessment forms. This includes repairs to the substructure, decking, and replacing approximately 90 sections of wood piles with a section of steel pipe. This is in addition to any decking or substructure repairs that the crew has worked on after determining that those repairs needed immediate attention due to a safety concern. The decking and substructure of the docks are repaired using conventional method of dock repair. It was stated earlier that most of the pile damages and therefore repairs are to the top of the wood pilings on the water side of the dock. These pilings are used to support the decking as well as providing the tie-down area for the vessel. The port came up with a plan to replace the broken portions of the wood pile with a section of steel pipe. This method provides for a stronger tie-down area as well as making it harder to break off the top of the pile upon impact. This method has worked well and has saved the port a substantial amount of money. The average cost of replacing a broken wood pile, taking into account materials, equipment, and labor, is about $2,000 each. If we do the math, 90 times 2,000 is $180,000. When you add the cost of mobilization and demobilization, the cost goes even higher. Our method is to unfasten the hardware that secures the pile cap to the wood pile, cut off the damaged section of the pile, and slip a 10-foot section of steel pipe over the wood pile, and refasten the pile cap to the steel pipe. It is my estimate that with materials, equipment, and labor, the crew can accomplish this with a cost of approximately $700, $150 for the pipe, $400 for the labor, and $150 for the equipment per pile. If we do this math, 90 times 700 equals $63,000 for a savings of over $100,000.
Very good. That's another reason we don't have to raise taxes.
Then out of all the pilings that we have placed a steel pipe, they're still there. Nobody, I mean, they have bumped into it. You can see the paint marks and the scratch marks, but they don't break off.
Well, they're standing out to the impact if there
Yes.
is.
Yes, sir.
How many total would you estimate you replaced?
To date,
Metal.
90.
And are you doing just on the damaged pilings, or are you doing it like, I saw it looked like it was every fourth one was metal, or just the damaged ones?
Yes, once we see that that the top of the pile has been broken off, damaged by impact or other means, we go in there and we replace that portion with a steel pipe. With a steel pipe. And while we're there, we also repair any decking or any substructure that needs to be. Basically, if you see a damage to the top of the pile, you will see some damage to the beams, the pile caps, braces. So, once we're there, we take care of all the rest of the stuff.
Mr. Garza, we're gonna be painting those things on a constant basis, right? Because it's steel and water they don't go together, so
The steel and water actually
The yellow.
The yellow paint.
The sleeve that you're putting.
Oh, yes,
in,
yes,
you're gonna
yes.
be painting that.
Yes, what we do is that, we of course, we scrape all, it has a little bit of rust or whatever, we scrape it off, we put asphalt, then we put a primer, for steel, and then we paint them yellow. And, yes, and you're right, I guess.
Eventually, we're gonna have to paint them again.
Yeah, that'll make it last longer.
Joe, I wanna commend you, because I've been over there and walked on the docks and everything, and you guys are doing a great job. It's really, really first class. And thank you for saving us so much money.
And you saw in one of the pictures, there's only a crew of usually of two.
Two guys, yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah, but some of the, y'all recall in the budget, you approved some positions, and the majority of those were in the maintenance area. That allows us to keep a crew out there all the time.
Yes.
As opposed to juggling them between other maintenance duties or other jobs. So, they're out there, they know what they need to do, and they're sticking to it.
Another thing that's been, that's happened because of the way that we repair the docks is that we buy the steel from our local scrap yards. Yeah. And so,
That saves
We don't
money.
have any docks there and just repair anymore. All of them are.
There's still some.
No,
Yeah,
there's
there's
still
still-
some
yeah.
that need work, but
Yeah.
There's still
not,
some.
I mean, by far, there's a lot less than, obviously.
Out of the 42 forms that came back, damage reports from them, we have completed 21 of those. So we still need another.
And then there's some other ones that didn't fill a form out, but still gotta
Well,
mention.
no, but when we first got on, there were some,
Yeah.
they couldn't even walk on them
Oh,
anymore.
they-
No,
they-
Oh, yeah.
So that's what
Yeah.
that's what I was
No,
talking about.
if there's a safety
Prioritized.
issue, if there's a
Yeah,
safety and it's
that's what I was
obvious, and
talking
then
about.
those kind of get pushed up in the
Yes.
priority. And
And most
Those
of the
have been
major
done.
stuff has been addressed.
Yeah, those have been done. Those have been done.
Whatever happened to that one dock that caught on fire and there was talk, still dealing
Well,
with it.
that's a different issue. I think we're still fighting, Debbie's still fighting that battle with the insurance people.
Thank you, Joe.
That's on the
On the
fishing
patio,
harbor.
I have one more, it's not as long, the report is not as long, but that's on patio 20. Patio 20, this is an area of approximately 3 acres west of Terrier Trucking. Across from the port elevator, that is being prepared as a laydown area for steel or other products that do not need covered storage. The crew has completed cutting, grading, and compacting the subgrade to design and specifications. We are in the process of installing the geogrid material and placing and compacting the first 6-inch lift of flexible base material, which we use limestone instead of caliche. When completed, the patio will consist of 2 layers of geogrid material with 24 inches of compacted limestone. The port has planned to construct a total of 5 acres of patio area by the end of the year. After patio number 20 is completed, the area south of sheds 12, 13, and 14 will be next for construction as additional storage patio. This area is approximately 2 acres. And that's the cost of it.
Now, basically what this is, Mr. Garza and I were trying to give the board an impression or an idea of what the expenses are. This $82,280 is the cost for 24 inches of limestone, and basically that's just the material.
That's just the material.
This $19,400 is the cost per acre for geogrid.
For the 2 layers.
And then we estimate a $25,000 cost of labor to the port, labor and equipment. And that basically totals $126,000 per acre to improve a patio with a 24-inch limestone surface. And for this particular case, as we're talking about 3 acres, total cost is about $380,000 for just patio number 20.
The $25,000 that you see where labor and material, that's that's from day one, that's when he sends out the surveyor to do the survey, run the elevations, figure out the grades, and then for us to go in there and cut and compact, and so that's from day one. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Fishing Harbor Roads project. This project, of course, as you know, was bid recently, and we've got, well, before I go into the numbers, I'm gonna show you some of the driveways. As you know, part of the problem that we had was that we wanted to have adequate driveways for all the lessees so that we would protect the pavement in the area where they have access to their leases. There's different areas where we put concrete driveways. This in particular is the driveway that goes back into the, in fact, I wanted to use that for myself, but since it's, and I don't mean for myself, I mean for my wastewater group, because they are the ones who address the northeast, the plant, the treatment plant over there at the fishing harbor. And we were thinking of giving them an office next to the fishing harbor, but then I looked at this site, it has concrete slab and everything, but you know, talking to Eddie, it looks like it's better for a lessee that has waterfront requirements and stuff like that. So.
He got his hopes dashed. A fishing pier out there for the guys. So.
But we still gave ourselves a really good driveway there. The other, here's another driveway. This is a driveway coming up on, what's that road name? The one on the east side? Fisherman's Place right here. This is one of the driveways. Basically, we did over 2,000 square yards of driveway all over the fishing harbor. Here, this is one of the areas of the spot repairs. If there's any questions, please interrupt me. Ralph, I think you have it.
Yeah, you know, took a reporter for a tour today, and we went over the fishing harbor because I wanted to introduce him to around, show him what we were doing at the fishing harbor. And I stopped by Mr. Burnell's because he wanted to know about shrimp, and he just moved here. And so Mr. Burnell told me he had 2 driveways, but they said they would only put concrete on one of the driveway entrances. I didn't know if we could put one on the other one, or.
I entertained several requests of driveways from different lessees. Some of them wanted them wider. Some of them wanted the areas where they were using. I didn't hear anything additional. I was pretty lenient with people.
No. Well, I'm just asking you because we're not done yet, so maybe.
No, if he comes to me and it's something that makes sense, we would do it. Okay. The only thing that we refrain from doing is putting anything within the lessee's property.
Yes, I understand.
But extra driveways, wider driveways, anything that'll help us protect our pavement, we went ahead and
he was asking about asphalt, I said,
yeah.
But I told him there that he'd need to talk to the contractor himself directly, that perhaps he might be able to do something for him at a reduced price because he already had the equipment and the people and the material there.
Yeah, if he wants
but he needed to talk
yes.
to the contractor direct on that, but that I would talk to you all about the
driveway.
The
yes.
driveway.
Yeah, I mean, just have him call me and.
Okay, I will. I'll call.
You know,
Thank you.
Well, in fact, one of the financial implications, on the financial implications, I'm gonna really explain to you what's going on. But basically, this is a portion of pavement that we felt had some weaknesses. This is on the entrance to that same Fisherman's Place Road. And initially, I basically, after we started getting ready to do the bids, I drove it real quick and said, well, you know, we should be able to, with 200 square yards of spot repairs, we should be able to fix everything. When the contract began, Mr. Garza and I walked the whole fishing harbor, and we marked every spot that we felt needed repairs, and the total was over 3,000 square yards. So, but we felt that it was important to do that because we wanted to make sure that the final product was something that was gonna last for a while.
Absolutely.
So, you know, this is just a sample of the spot repair. Now, this is a picture yesterday of when they were overlaying. This is the same Fisherman's Road. Looking at it from the north to the south, the channel is back here. 48 is back in this direction. Our plant is over here to the left. This is another shot of that same going. This one is going north. The old PUV desal pilot place is over here to our right a little bit. This is on the south side looking east. And those are just dirt marks. I wish they weren't there and you didn't see them, but but the service is looking very good. The contractor is doing a really, really good job. And basically now, to show you the fiscal implications, of course, you remember we had already reported these numbers to you, the estimate, the bids received, and the savings on the bid. Basically right now, from the low bid from GNT, we have a change order that is on your agenda. Originally we had estimated at a different amount, but after finalizing and fine-tuning the numbers, that's what the amount is that we have to add for spot repairs. The major impact was from spot repairs because that quantity really skyrocketed on us. But the good thing that we did is that we actually got a unit price bid from the contractor. That way he could not change that on us. It's just a matter of how many yards he would do. And that was why it was important for us to get that price before we did a change order. Now we have a basis for it. So basically from the original price of $424 plus the $40,000 on spot repair, this is our current total. And then from the 180 savings that we had, we now are at 145. We still may come back with an additional change order next week, next meeting I mean, because one of the things that I did, I've been working with the state to try to let us improve the areas within the state right away. And since we kind of focused on the Tiger Grant, I didn't push them as much. And finally yesterday they emailed me and texted me and authorized for us to do that work. So that may incur a little bit of additional cost, but we'll come back to you with that on the next meeting.
What we're going to do is as you enter the aprons off of 48, as you enter into the fishing harbor, we're going to go ahead and redo those.
Let me ask you on the, there are different companies that pick up the garbage out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did we allow for any concrete pads for those trash containers?
Well,
those heavy trucks to pick those up so it's not tearing up these brand new roads we put in?
Well, we are not putting any extra concrete pads on the trash containers, but the containers are basically right next to the curb. So they're not having to go into the thing. In fact, I'm not sure if it was yesterday or Monday, we went out there with, as one of our lessees was indicating that he was afraid that because our contractor had moved his garbage bin back, it might not get picked up today. So we made the contractor move it up, so.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. You see it all over town where the heavy garbage trucks pick up the trash container and it starts buckling. Pavements.
Well, see, the difference between what we're doing and what the city normally does, they have 1.5 to 2 inch hot mix on their roads. Here, we had an existing 1.5 inch and we're overlaying with another 1.5 inches. And our base is different, so that should pretty much take care of it. And
we would have seen that, I think, if that was a problem. You would have seen that even before the roads getting overlaid, and that might have been some of those weak areas that got replaced. But it doesn't appear to be a problem. For the most part, those roads were in pretty good shape.
Yes, in fact, some of the areas that we actually spot repaired was mostly because of alligator cracking. There wasn't any significant settlement, so the base seemed to be good. We didn't really have any deep major base failures. We had some of them, but not, by and large, not so much. Most of it was the surface consistency, and we want to make sure we sealed it before we overlaid it.
That has to be an engineering term, alligator cracking.
Well, what it is, it's longitudinal cracking on and the contractors call it that. It's longitudinal cracking on the pavement, and it makes it look like the back of an alligator. That's right.
You'll have a little groove like that.
And you don't get introduced to that terminology until your third year in engineering.
I'm getting in my second year of commissioning.
On the internal roads project, I'm going to be hopefully very brief. You've seen the map. I don't need to go over that with you. I just wanted to review some of the fiscal implications. The bids, of course, were received prior to the last time that we actually gave you a report. So that's why I wanted to show you that. We got a bid of $3.5 million from GNT, another 3.5 just under from Foremost Paving, and 3.3 from Ballinger Paving. From the engineer's estimate of 4.6 million, the savings was 1.2 million on these bids. Now, basically, one of the funny things is that I had never seen bids where all the bidders came in within 5% of each other. So this was really, really very tight and competitive. But we got a good, any of these contractors would have been good, so we got Ballinger, so we're good there. From the savings on the bid, we have some other expenses. We took out the limestone, that was part of what we reserved as, you know, that helped us experience some of the savings. And based on the numbers that we have on our current limestone bid for the port, we're gonna spend about $422,000 in that limestone, and it would have cost us about 3 times as much if we just put it in the contract. So that's part of where the savings came in. The other thing is, if you recall, we didn't have exactly where we were gonna get the money for the pole relocations. And so now we have from that savings, so the net savings is $541,000.
I will tell you that we did get notification about the results of the grant award, and we're not getting any money for utility relocation, so that's gonna be it. And that's not going to be what we had proposed in terms of the extensive utility relocations. That's simply to get those out of the way so we can do the road improvements, but we'll keep looking at other ways to try to do it.
Now, real quickly on the Tiger Grant, of course, as you know, we submitted the Tiger Grant application on time. The application was, the receipt of the application was acknowledged by the Department of Transportation of the nation, and you know, you of course have seen something similar to this before. The application included the North Rail Yard, Oil Dock 6, Dock 16, and some rail in the area near Dock 16 and 15, plus a crane. In fact, this is a little bit closer detail of that same area. Basically, the projects that we have were Oil Dock number 6 at an estimated cost of $23 million, Cargo Dock 16 at a $39.5 million, rail improvements, which was both the North Yard and the Dock 16 and 15 rail at $5.5 million, and then a mobile crane for Dock 16 at $5.5 million, and our total amount that we're soliciting from the government, from the Tiger grants, is $73.5 million.
Included in the rail improvements was also money for a trackmobile.
Yes. And now this is the one I've been waiting to show you.
That's in our very own channel.
Those are in the channel. Those are in the channel about Station 20. So, those are the nature shot. I've been showing birds a lot because those were easy. These were harder to get.
Is that when you and George were fishing the other day?
Right here. Thank you very much.
That concludes the report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Campanaro. All right, let's move on to our next item.
Okay, item number 4, consideration and action on the following consent agenda items. A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of September 9th, 2009. B, approval to authorize payments over $25,000. 1, TML payment on premium invoice in the amount of $238,385. 2, Aon payment of premium invoice in the amount of $72,725. 3, PSI payment on marine borings in the channel of $102,930. 4, Long and Chilton LLP payment for the annual audit for fiscal year 12/30/08 in the amount of $31,000. C, approval of the following leases. Item 1, Nuga Diesel Inc., new lease. 2, Araceli Lopez, new lease. 3, Alamo Concrete Products Ltd., new lease. 4, MI LLC, new lease. 5, MI LLC amendment. 6, Cumberworth Investments Inc., amendment. Item D, consider and take action to authorize the staff to advertise requests for bids for the district's employee health and life insurance program.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Cowan, do I have a second?
So moved.
Seconded by Commissioner Arambula. All those in favor? Item carries.
Item number 7, consideration and action on assignments, negotiations, easements, subleases, and contracts in general. Item 1, Juan Delgadillo, authority to negotiate.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners,
Juan Delgadillo's lease at the fishing harbor is due to expire, and he is requesting a new lease. So I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate a new lease with Mr. Delgadillo.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Lopez.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cowan. All those in favor? Item carries.
Mr. Chairman, could I go back to, I have a question of our council on the other leases we just approved. In there, it was the purchase property as well, the warehouses. In one of these leases, I don't know which one it is.
Oh, Anuda.
Are we there yet, or am I?
No, that was under,
That was on the ones we just approved.
C1.
Yes.
Right. My question is, they're buying the warehouse over a 5-year period. What happens if they vacate that property? Either they renege on the lease, they paid off the property, or the warehouse are buying the concrete pad, or after the 5 years is up, they decide they don't want to renew their lease.
They have a period of time to remove it, and if they don't remove it, it becomes ours.
Okay.
Well, actually, they're starting off, they're leasing it for 5 years, but
Right, I
now with our
understand
new
that.
plan, our new,
We'll sell it again.
at the end of the
At the
5
end
years,
of
if
it.
we have paid the market value for the building, and so then we'll give them title to it.
Okay, so they can either take it off or
Yes.
reverts back
Yeah,
to.
Right.
and when let's assume the lease just expires, no default, anything, just expires. They have to continue to pay us rent until they get it off, or they sign a bill of sale or something that says, we don't want it, it's yours.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right. I think we got item 7-1, 7-2.
Item 2, RM Wallsdorf Company, authority to negotiate.
Yes, Mr. Walsdorf, or RM Walsdorf, is requesting to amend their lease to add to their lease additional acreage. So I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate an amendment to add this acreage to their lease.
All right, do we have a motion?
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Lopez, second by Commissioner Cowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Item 3, M&M Mooring Company, authority to negotiate.
Yes, M&M Mooring is also asking for additional acreage. They're building a building and they need to, the additional land to meet the setback requirements on the building. So I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate this amendment.
Do we have a motion?
The building they're building is for what purpose or what use?
It's for office, warehouse, yes. For their building, line handling, yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cowan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Item number 4, Pan American Fabrication, Inc. to ESCO Marine, Inc., authority to negotiate.
Pan American Fabrication is selling their building to ESCO, and ESCO is made a request to lease the property and first refusal that Pan American had. So I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate a lease, or add this to, I will check with ESCO if they're going to want a separate lease or add it to their main contract, since it's here,
Adjacent
and this is the
property.
Pan American site, the first refusal and the lease, and so I don't know if they want to add it to this lease or it'll be a separate lease.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Cowan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Item number 5, Premier Refractories, Inc., care of Vesuvius USA Corp. to 905 BMW, Inc., authority to negotiate.
Premier has notified us that they are terminating their contract here at the port, and that BMW or 905 Logistics, who is a lessee at the port, have 2 sites on Old 48 and here, to take over the operations of the warehousing and handling of the material for them. So I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate a release of lease and a brand new contract to BMW, 905.
You said they currently have 2 sites, or they have?
Well,
or they will
905,
have 2 sites?
905 has 2 sites. This will be the 3rd site.
third site.
Yes.
Motion by Commissioner Lopez, seconded by Commissioner,
I'll let somebody else go up for a change.
seconded by Commissioner Arambula. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Item number 8, consideration and action to extend contract for professional services related to economic justification of channel expansion to HDR Engineering, formerly HDR Shiner Motorsports.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this item is basically to extend the contract with HDR Engineering on the work that they've been doing with us for the study on the deepening and widening of the channel with the Corps of Engineers. In fact, we had a meeting yesterday, discussed several items. One of the items that we're working on with them is the possibility of relocating the dry dock for Brownsville closer to the jetties. I think it's gonna be like within 5.5 to 6 miles of the jetties. What that would do is, instead of having to widen the channel all the way up to the turning basin, the channel would be widened only up to that point and then continue deepening all the way to the turning basin. So that's one of the options that we're looking at. In fact, we have a meeting next week in Galveston with the Corps, including AMPELS, to go into detail as to that possibility. Of course, the consultants are gonna be there, so that they can continue to advise us with this work. And our recommendation is that you extend the contract as indicated in that.
Make a comment about that. One is that, HDR is like the project manager on this project for us, with the Corps and with ourselves. And, what's happening is, remember that, we kind of extend the contract from year to year. This is gonna be a multi-year. I think this will be like the third time that, we've been working on this for 3 years, and don't expect this thing to go away anytime soon. So, rather than extending it for the life of the contract, or the life of the project, right now we've got funding, I think, that will carry us through the end of 2009 and into 2010. The federal budget has a proposal in the 2010 for, I believe, about 500 and
78,
well, 400,000 más o menos. And so if we get that, then that extends it that other year for 2010. So you're going to see this. I mean, I think we saw the new schedule for the new date for completion of the feasibility study, and now they're telling us it's going to be 2012, wasn't that the last date?
The last one that they
Because
mentioned.
they had pushed it out to 2015, and we kind of hemmed and hawed and said, I'm like, come on, guys, you got to be serious. And
Well, see, right now they have it on May 2013, but they are thinking they can shave off about 6 to 7 months, which will put it to the end of 2012, so. I mean,
and there are times when we cannot attend those meetings, so they attend them on our behalf in Galveston. So, in fact, their role is somewhat as helping us as a project manager on this project.
And when we say that this is to get through the completion and the approval of the funding and everything else.
Well, right now, this is just to continue the study through 2010,
Yeah,
basically.
this is
Right,
strictly.
but I mean, we're going to we're talking about to 2012.
Yes, that's a
That would
completion of the study.
Of the study, and that would also, okay.
See, well, what the study's gonna do, I think if I understand your question, reading between the lines a little bit, is what the study's gonna do is it's going to tell the Corps if the widening and deepening is feasible and if it has benefits. If the cost-benefit ratio is what they're expecting, then that'll determine that. And then based on that determination, then they'll schedule it for funding. So, we may not get funding to do that work for another 3-4 years, or maybe even longer after the study is completed. So, but there's no chance of getting any funding.
If we don't have the
until,
study.
There's no way you're going to, there's no way you're going to be able to get consideration for authorization to do the project
Unless
if
the
you
study
do
is
not
completed.
go through this process. So there's no
This has to be
guarantee
done.
that when the project is complete, that we're gonna get money to widen and deepen it. But their likelihood of ever even getting for that consideration without going through this process is pretty nil. I mean, that's
Well,
unfortunately what we have to do.
I understand that. I'm just wanting to clarify where we're going. That's bringing The idea of widening the channel only the first 5 miles or so, I think makes perfectly good sense, and then deepening the rest of it. And the amount of, and if it's gonna increase jobs and the balance of trade and all those things is what they're looking at, because that's what they're responsible to. They have to go, Congress calls them and makes them accountable to that, and we're accountable to that, and we want to produce jobs.
There's a lot of issues that get presented. There's other issues besides just that. There are provisions that, once you go to a certain depth, they're no longer responsible for maintenance. So as we get through all these things and we identify all these, there's a lot of individual components that get to that. There's nothing to say that the government is going to have to pay to deepen the channel from the jetties up to that point. It could very well be a private entity to do it. However, we want to make sure that we also, in that whole discussion, that we don't negate whatever federal responsibility for future maintenance of that new improvement will be. So there's a whole lot of issues that come up in this process. And as these things come up, we work through them one at a time. But unfortunately, this is just one of those hoops that you have to jump through as it relates to dealing with any opportunity for federal maintenance dollars or construction dollars or whatever you may have coming down the pike in the future.
Got it.
One thing that we do have in the works, and Eddie might have mentioned it also before, is that we're trying to also get, as you know, the maintenance of the disposal areas right now is 100% port responsibility. We're working with the Corps to try to get them to take over that aspect of it. And of course, the advantage there is going to be that they're going to bear the cost of it. The disadvantage is that any dealings that we may have or any need we may have to use them would have to go through permitting with them, but, that's probably gonna be the lesser of two evils, if you want to call it.
Well, could we still keep one spoil area for our own needs?
That probably needs to be really thought out before we make a decision, but that could be a possibility. Off the top of my head, I don't think that would work, but that's a possibility.
When we say that these things require an act of Congress, we're not kidding. They require an act of Congress. So the likelihood, Commissioner, again, of that being the case and going down the road is just as probably, saying yes, we will keep them as getting them changed, so.
I keep my rosary handy.
Of course, our recommendation was for you to approve.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Arambulo. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Carmona.
John had already seconded it. I'm second.
Okay.
I have
Second by Commissioner Reed.
Okay, the Commissioner Reed is second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Item number 9, consideration and action to authorize staff to enter into a standard utilities agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation for the relocation of a 10-inch water line on State Highway 550 project.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, rather than turn off the lights again and bring the screen down, I handed out the map. This is just one slide that I would have had to show you. What it is basically as you know, the state is working on 550, and they're finalizing the design. In fact, their design is pretty much finalized by now. And they sent us a document requesting for us to execute a utilities agreement with them. What I included in your packet was, I think, just a cover letter for the agreement. But what it is they will reimburse us 100% of the cost of doing what they need for us to do here, because this is in port property, and they're going to be crossing it with their highway. The main issue is that this water line is a little bit too shallow and it needs to at least be deepened. But instead of deepening it in place, what they want us to do is to realign it so that the crossing of the highway is at a perpendicular angle.
We're gonna have to contract this out, or?
Yes. What it is, basically what I would like for you to do tonight is to authorize staff to work on that agreement, because the first step that we're gonna need to do, I had a meeting with them, I wanted to try to meet them before I put this item on the agenda, and they were not available, and we were working on the Tiger Grant, so that never happened. I finally met with him on Monday this week, and basically we have every advantage. In fact, he threw in an issue that I think is a great idea. We may want to upgrade the size of this line, because if we, if we're going to open this whole area for future lessees, we may wanna have a bigger line here instead of just a 10-inch.
I think that makes good sense.
So, you know, that's something that will come out in the engineering, but the first step we need to do is, once we work out all the details of the agreement, we're gonna have to engage an engineer to design this work. They're gonna have to approve the amount that the engineer proposes for the work. And then we're gonna have to finalize plans, hire a contractor, and do the work. Their letting date is either February or March of 2010. So we have more than ample time to do that. If we do it, you know, if we don't let it slip through the cracks, we should be done with it. And the only thing we would wind up having to pay for if we upgrade the line is the cost of the upgrade, which would be 20% of the cost if we were gonna do it ourselves, if, you know, from scratch, so.
Do we have any idea what that cost would be, Mr.
What,
Chavez?
I kinda anticipated that question. I already put some numbers to it. I expect that I'm looking at about $100,000 to $125,000 for the replacement and maybe another $20,000 for engineering. So you're looking roughly at about $150,000 worth of work for the whole thing, of which we may wind up having to pay only $20,000 to $25,000, because they'll pay all the engineering anyway. They'll pay all the engineering, and they'll only pay we will only pay the upgrade of the water.
If we pay $25,000, that we increase our capacity, what would you go to?
16.
16. If you can go to a 16-inch water line for that thing for $20-something thousand, man, don't even look back.
Hold on, let's clarify that. Yeah, we're not talking about the whole line. We're just talking about the crossing at this time.
The rest of the line we would upgrade at a later date.
We would have the capability in the future as we.
Without having to tear up the road.
That's correct. So we'd have essentially a 16-inch line reducing back into the 10-inch on both sides of 550.
Thanks for clarifying that. I thought we were.
Because, no.
Doing it right now.
Yeah, because that,
Tell you what, for 120, do it and we don't want reimbursement.
Right.
It's only at the intersection.
how long a section are we talking
The
about?
crossing is about 500 feet, and the angle back is another 500, so you're looking at about 1,000 feet of pipe.
1,000 feet, so we're
And
talking
which
about.
includes- Which will also include about 500 feet of casing, because we're gonna have to put the pipe in a 24-inch steel casing. If we go with a 16, if we were with a 10, we'd go with an 18 steel casing. But the 16 would require 24 steel casing across the whole proposed right-of-way, and then angle back into our line.
So we're talking about 1,000 feet
Yeah,
altogether.
a little bit over 1,000 with the tie-ins and elbows and everything.
But for the future, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes good sense. No, that's good value.
So that's a good clarification, what Eddie just said, because we're just talking about the area that we're replacing. The rest of the line will remain until
It's time to
make a
upgrade.
decision to do.
And the water source comes from the
From the
north?
port, no, it's
From the
it's feeding
port
from the
going-
south to the north, yes.
Okay, from south to north, okay. That's what I wanted to know. So, okay. So as far as going beyond Loma Alta Lake with a bigger line, we'd probably, if we were gonna replace it, we would probably replace the section that goes from the port, on the south side of the port to hook into the 10-inch line. I mean, where the crossing would be, that would be the first step of upgrade most probably, because that's where we would be having the most developed land.
Yeah, basically from their south would be the upgrade, from their north, there may be a portion that would need upgrade, but, it wouldn't be much. There's, in fact, at the north end of that line, there's a 6-inch line, that's almost on the surface, so that, that's how shallow this line is.
Doesn't it reduce to a 2-inch line even
Oh,
further?
way down
It's
it
like a big
becomes
manguera, man, going all the way down.
Yeah, where the meters are, it's a 2-inch line to service.
Yeah, that's, so.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, for item number 9.
All right, we got a motion
I'll
by,
second that motion.
seconded by Commissioner Cowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item carries.
Item number 10, consideration and action to approve change order number 1 to the contract with G&T Paving Company for the Fishing Harbor Road Rehab Project.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, again, this item, we talked about it on the report. This is the tabulation that actually, that we used to derive the amount of the change to the contract based on the additional pavement repairs that we did. We did overestimate on the concrete driveways. We had a line item of 3,000 square yards, but we only used 2,230. So we have we have 770 that we're deleting from the contract on the concrete driveways.
but the others are additions, so the net addition is $71,300.10. The net deletion is $30,792.30. If you notice on the additions, the bulk of the addition is actually the $41,000 on the first line item there, which is the extra spot repairs that we did. And the balance is the $40,507.80. That's the increase to the contract from the original $424,361.58 original contract price. The new contract price is $464,869.38.
Since we've already talked about this and know what this is all about, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve this.
Yeah, this is,
We're talking about a net change of 9,290, right?
No, that's the old one.
That's the old one?
40,000.
That's where I was confused.
This number I had left at 1,000 because we hadn't added them all up.
Yeah,
The actual number is over 3,000.
Okay.
So if you notice, this 14 here became 41. And from the 9, that's really what made the big difference on that. The rest of them are basically the same. This is 670 instead of 600. This is 180 instead of 200. This is 1320 instead of 11150. So, and this instead of 790 is 770. Go ahead and extra 20 that I had to write, so I did it on 770. This is the actual.
Why was there such a difference? Or it was just
Well,
an
see-
estimate or what on
No,
the
see,
pavement
actually,
repair?
That's a very good question. On the pavement repairs, between the time that the plans were developed and the time that we actually got out there was no provision in the original contract for that. When I caught wind of that, I threw in an item with a figure out of thin air, because I didn't really have a way to estimate it, so that we would get a unit price from the contractor. Because if we didn't get a unit price, he could price it at whatever on a change order. So we fixed a unit price.
You started with a 9,000.
Yeah, no, we actually had only 200 on that line item. But that line item grew to over 3,000 square yards. But we did get a specific unit price, and then we're using the unit price. There's no way that he can, adjust the unit price. We're using that unit price.
Because a lot of times they'll increase the price on the change order.
If
This
we
way
don't
we
have
locked him in
Locked
to a
him into
price,
that price.
so if there was a change order, we would have the cheaper price.
Well, the bottom line is that it's gonna be driven by the quantities, and so,
Yeah.
since you already have a unit price, you know what your fixed cost is, the only thing that'll drive it is the quantity number.
So that's
And that's
great,
why,
great job.
as I said on the report, we will probably be adding some quantities to the surfacing because we added the entrances. And that's something I worked with the state to get that, and they finally approved it yesterday, and we are adding a little bit of quantity. That's not gonna be as significant, but I've already discussed it with the finance department, and provision has been made in the budget adjustment for that. So we're ready for that. And it's within the overall amounts that we had allocated for this work.
You have a motion.
All right.
Put down a second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Cowan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Item number 11, adjourning to executive session.
Okay, do we have anything to discuss in executive session?
I do not.
None? Okay, move on to the next item.
Item 12, possible action on matters discussed in executive session, none. Item
None?
13,
Any public comments? Okay, we got item 14, adjournment. Do we have motion to adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Lopez, second by Commissioner Cowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hereby adjourned.